not allowed to use the cameras.
Yeah.
My technique was to get on and off as quickly as I could.
I give you 2 minutes to leave my property. 2 minutes. You are from the Greenies. We know you.
But what is there to hide?
Blood Lions is a documentary that set out to expose the truth behind canned lion hunting and predator breeding in South Africa. Joining me in studio is filmmaker Ian Mickler. He's going to introduce us to the film and the journey that he went on to get here. Hello.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming in. Now, Blood Lions is a very powerful film. Tell me about your life and what made you want to expose what's happening in South Africa with these canned lion hunts.
I think that the first thing is that over the years there have been a number of people and organizations that have been campaigning against captive breeding, can hunting. But most of that has been through the print medium. So, for example, I started in the 1990s, writing stories about what's going on and calling for bans. A lot of it has been about holding forum meetings and trying to persuade politicians to get involved and to ban these practices. But we haven't really been that successful, because over that period I've seen the number of lions grow from about 800 in captivity in the late 1990s to about 3,000 to 3,500 in 2005, when I was tasked to do an in-depth report for the then Minister of the Environment, Minister van Schalkwyk, who tried to clamp down. Today we've got over 8,000, or approximately 8,000 predators, mostly lions, but also tigers, cheetah. So clearly the industries and all the revenue streams have continued to grow. Blood Lions, we believe and hope, is going to make a significant difference to this journey, because for the first time we have a very, very powerful visual narrative to what's going on. So it's one thing for me to tell you that these animals are being shot in enclosed areas, or they're being bred under horrific conditions, and there's no conservation value. But when you see it, when you see those animals on the bait being shot, when you see the cages, when you see the enclosed areas, it provides for a far more compelling narrative. So I think for the first time now we really are going to get traction, not only here but also around the world.
Now tell me about the audience reaction. I know there was a screening last night. What was the initial reaction from the audience?
Well, as there was in Durban, we had a standing ovation, which was just phenomenal, so
yeah.
I think people are responding to that powerful narrative, those very strong images, and there's a sense of outrage, in terms of what we do to these wild creatures, what we're doing to the planet. And I know a lot of the responses kind of overstep the mark maybe, and there's confusion into what the real issues are and to what we should be doing constructively. But I think we can't underestimate or just wish away the response to Blood Lions, to what happened with Cecil the lion in Zimbabwe, to the rhino poaching crisis in this country. It's a compelling response that I think tells our politicians and decision makers that maybe what we've been doing is not necessarily the right thing, and we need to change.
Now, in the trailer, it looks like some very extreme conditions that these predators are living in. Talk me through the conditions when it comes to the predator breeding that you expose in the film.
Well, I think the most important thing to understand with lions is that these are apex predators. They live in very strictly marked out territories and they need space to survive in natural conditions. You go onto these farms and you just completely get blown away by the fact that they've been reduced to nothing more than domesticated animals. So here they are, pushed into these small enclosures, high numbers, sometimes mixed with other species. So that in itself for me was the initial shock, was that we've taken an apex predator that under natural conditions in the wild lives in this huge open territories, and we've just confined them to these pens, enclosures, like we do domestic animals. And then, of course, you get the better operations, the slicker operations, where they understand that there are public coming to view or to cuddle or to walk with the lions, or that they have volunteer programs. They need to present a better face, and they do. The lions are pretty well fed. They all look nice and furry and cuddly. But you get a lot of the other operations who, of course, not open to the public, breeding for the lion bone trade, for example, and the welfare considerations there can be very, very poor to bad. So why waste money on vets and food when, in fact, all that's going to happen to that animal is it ends up as a bag of bones going to the Far East? So, you know, the conditions range from, on the face of it, fine, right through to appalling, depending, I guess, on, you know, the level of exposure to the public.
Now we see in the trailer someone tells you to stop filming, and they say if you don't stop, they're going to kill you. Talk me through that situation. I can't imagine what was going through your mind.
Well, first of all, the gentlemen who were involved in that lodge at the time, that was Nick Chevalier, who was our chief cameraman, and he's also part of the directorial team. And we had another cameraman called Greg Nelson who was with us, and then of course the hunter, Rick Swayze from Hawaii. I was on the outskirts of the farm at the time, but from all accounts, I think what happened really is that the farmer, got to realize after a day of the film team being there that we were asking too many of the right questions, and of course the cameramen were doing their job professionally, and that is getting as much information for the documentary.
Yeah.
And you know, after, for me, 15, 16 years of doing this, I can go onto any of these properties and within a very short period of time get a sense that this is a legitimate operation or it's not. There's something fishy going on here. They do the same now. They have got to understand that what they're doing is publicly unacceptable to most people, and it's a fairly murky world. So they go to the ends to try and make sure that it's not exposed, that people like us get chased off their properties. So I think that's what happened. He kind of understood that, all right, these guys are professional crew, and that's why he blew up like that. We found out afterwards, actually, that he had been on another program as well, also involved in a sting. So yeah, so they get physically threatening. They they threaten from legal aspects. But I guess it's, you know, what have you got to hide? That's really the issue, and they've got a lot to hide. They don't want the truth exposed.